Yeah, it says it's live stream. Is there any, okay, Laura, are you sharing your screen?
Yes. Is it working
Okay.
though?
Yes, I can see it. I can see it.
Just my screen or everything?
I see you sharing. I see your canvas. I
Everything is
see your
there.
background.
Okay, you see everything. Okay, let's start that.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's 4:03. We're gonna get started at 4:05 within 2 minutes. Welcome everyone. I'm gonna give I'm gonna wait for about 2 minutes to ensure that we have enough attendees before we get started with the panel discussion. Alrighty, I think now we can start with the discussion. We are about 15%, 6% on the panel, and about 10 attendees. First of all, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to our attendees. I'm gonna be your host, the moderator of this panel. My name is Dr. Judith Blanc. And I am the founder and the director of the Holistic Families Lab, or Holistic Families Program at the University of Miami Miller School of Medicine. So this panel is organized by this lab that I created, and all those beautiful ladies that you're seeing, those brilliant minds, they are all members of the Holistic Families Lab. Before we get started, I just wanted to talk a bit about the mission of that lab. So our mission is to leverage innovative ethnographical and integrative medicine tools to investigate and tackle intersectional stressors. By intersectional stressors, what we mean, we are referring to intergenerational trauma, racial trauma, gender discrimination, caregiver burden, acculturation stress, and also minority stress. So our mission is to tackle those unique responses to those stressors among marginalized families, women, and children. And the ultimate goal is to transform the lives of families, women, and children through science, education, training, community services, and advocacy in the US and globally. So now let's go to the idea behind the panel. And now today we are having a panel, but we are already to a point of thinking and transforming this talk into a movement. So the idea arose from a genuine conversation between myself, a junior investigator, the director of the Holistic Families Lab, and two of my medical school applicants, or two of my mentees at the University of Miami Miller School of Medicine. And that I had at that moment, it was the three of us, a male medical school applicant and a woman. And all of us, we are Haitian American or Haitian descent. And we were discussing about the lack of cultural representation among mentors and its impact on the learning experience. So from there, it was so rich and also emotionally charged, that conversation. I felt like, wow, this is exactly what I wanted to create with with the lab project. This safe space, right? Allow my mentees to be able to share their stories, to relate with me, and also to motivate them to join me in my fight to tackle racial ethnic disparities in our communities. So for the first step, I started, I invited everybody, mostly the women among the lab, to write a paper with me. And basically, it's the first time I was doing that. I usually I have a background in quantitative research, so I'm not usually savvy of qualitative research, but this time I decided to build on the feminist relational epistemology and ask them open-ended question to allow them to share their experience as racialized minorities, navigating behavioral biomedical science, and also to share their view on Black women role in academic medicine, and also their ideal research lab. So we examine the importance of mentors of racialized minority having first-hand experience with the hardship faced by their mentees, which influence their discipline, motivation, and also quality of their training. So in terms of the findings, I don't want to, to share too much right away, because that's also one of the reasons behind this panel, because we develop an entire manuscript, right? There's a manuscript attached to this project, and this project also we recently presented it at the 2022-2023 annual conference of the American Psychosomatic Society meeting. So it was just one person among the lab who was able to make the trip. And then we said, okay, we don't want to miss this opportunity, so let's create the panel. And then the paper is still on we are reviewing the paper to submit the paper to an academic journal. And in the meantime, I also came across about 2 weeks ago news about trainees, Black trainees, Black mentees, suicidal news. And I was, wow, I was sharing the news with those ladies that you see on the panel. And we said, wow, that's exactly why it's important for us to go live and to discuss our paper, to discuss the study, and to probably create a movement, and also in support of the Black trainee and also Black students being exposed to intersectional stressors in academia. And here we are today. So with me on the panel, I won't be speaking. I will be the host and also the moderator. We're gonna discuss about our coping mechanism as minoritized women in academia. We're gonna reflect on our feminist relational epistemological approach to mentorship. We're gonna discuss about imposter syndrome, minority tax, the Black excellence injunction, and at the end, I will invite my guests to share their vision of a healthy, transformative, and equitable medical higher education system, as well as academic medicine. Okay, so this is time for me now to introduce my guests. I'm gonna start based on who I see in first place on my screen. So I'm gonna give them 1 minute to introduce themselves, talk about your title, what you're doing, your work, your background, and we go from there. So I have Laura Francois in first place. So welcome, Laura. Thank you for joining me. And do you mind introducing yourself for the public?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Laura Francois. I'm a recent graduate of the University of Miami, where I obtained 2 bachelor's degrees, one in public health and the other in French, alongside being on the pre-medical track. And I graduated in May of last year, but since then, I've kind of been on my journey to applying to medical school and all that entails. But during my time at the university, I was president of the Haitian Student Organization, as well as another organization named Minority Women in Medicine. So you can imagine how we speak the things I was involved in are very along the lines of what Dr. Blunt does and all the things that she's very passionate about. Formerly, my role in the lab was as a research assistant intern, being Dr. Blunt's most senior assistant, research assistant, kind of going through the inception of a lot of her projects, namely the Haitian Wellbeing Project, the Nurturing Mom study, and various different things within the Center of Translational Sleep and Circadian Sciences. And honestly, one of the most enriching experiences that I've had as I'd say like academic professional, student and things like that. I've learned so much and grown so much. And yeah, like kind of delve myself into the world of research and all that entails, very different from my background in public health and things like that. So I've been very fortunate and blessed to have been under Dr. Blunt, especially being that she's a Haitian woman just like me. And, I can kind of go more into my background and, the things that I'm very interested in and passionate about later on as well. So very happy to be here and welcome everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Laura. It's such a pleasure, having you as mentee, as my student. Thank you so much. I have to thank you because I felt like I was blessed to have you as one of the leader of that lab and also helping me to create the Holistic Families Lab. Now let's go to Luntita, Dr. Duteli.
Hi, thank you so much, Dr. Blanc. So my name is Luntita Duthley Duteli, and of Haitian American background, born here in the United States. I'm an assistant research professor with the Department of Obstetrics, Gynecology, and Reproductive Sciences. And so my role in academia is actually, this is a second career for myself. I started quite late in life when I went back to school and got my doctorate about 6 years ago. I completed about 6 years ago. And my work is centered mostly around women living with HIV in the South Florida area. And predominantly, I look at the differences between the African-American women, Caribbean-American women who are mostly of Haitian American background, and Latina women, and looking at ways to improve their education and knowledge about HIV and their health, and creating interventions that can help women who are struggling the most with adhering to care and remaining healthy. Most recently, I began kind of diving a little bit more into technology, which was my original background, and bringing in the technology into the work that I do. Personally, I, as my free side gig, I teach meditation and I teach yoga. And so the other thing that I'm looking to do in my own lab is to be able to bring these kinds of positive mind-body approaches into the work that I do. And I was, so happy to have met Dr. Blanc about, I don't know, I guess it was about 6 months ago, and to find out about, this incredible lab that she has. So it's been a joy for me to be a part of it and to meet, these wonderful women. And I'm looking forward to sharing with everyone on the panel and out in the audience.
All righty. Thank you so much, Luntita. It's a pleasure having met you as well. And I'm so looking forward to working with you to advance knowledge about Haitian women, Black women's health, as well as leveraging mindfulness, ethnographic, culturally tailored mindfulness intervention to reduce intersectional stress among Black women. And I have Maritza.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Maritza Bernard. I was born in Haiti. I'm currently a MBA in healthcare management student, and I have a long-term goal of becoming a physician as well as Laura. So I am also going through the really hard road to medicine, and my passion and everything that I've been doing has been centered around minorities and things that Dr. Blanc has been showing us has been something bigger than me. And my past degrees have been in biomedical sciences. I have a bachelor's in biomedical sciences and a minor in public health, and also bachelor's in criminology, and a master's in biomedical sciences. I wanted to say that during my short time with Dr. Blanc, I have been able to use my skills within those degrees and also learn about project management as a mentee to Dr. Blanc. I have learned to develop definitely several things, such as research projects and grants or opportunities as a team. And mentorship is definitely something I am planning on also doing in the future because of how Dr. Blanc has paved the way for, people like me and Laura, and also her colleagues to be an example in our generation and her generation and any generation really, to help others and in this career of medicine. And I thank you for coming tonight. I know it's the afternoon, a Saturday afternoon. You could be doing anything else, but you're here. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Maritza. It's a pleasure to have you as mentee. Candice, Dr. Sternberg.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Candice Sternberg. I'm an infectious disease doctor and an assistant professor in the Division of Infectious Disease at the University of Miami. A lot of my work has been clinical. When I first came to the university, I was working in the Division of Hospital Medicine, and then I decided to go back into training and complete an infectious disease fellowship. And so through my clinical work, I really noted a lot of health disparities, particularly regarding people of Haitian descent. I'm Haitian American and I was born here in the US. And so I really wanted to be able to start addressing some of those disparities for people of Haitian descent. And so recently I've been working on more research, mainly in the area of HIV treatment and prevention, given my specialty experience. And recently I've started working more with the Holistic Families Lab. And so it's been a pleasure collaborating, learning, and also mentoring. So thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies. So this is the moment we're gonna, oh, okay. I think we already have a question. How can a non-medical staff member interact, learn, and contribute with the Holistic Families Lab? Maybe what we're gonna keep the question. So what we're gonna start first, we have specific topics we want to discuss about. So maybe we'll push the question for that moment, and I can also give you my my email, if you will, and you can get in touch with me at a later time. Thank you for the question. Okay, alrighty. Okay, so I have a set of questions for you. Bear with me. I hope you're ready. Okay, what's my question for you again? Okay, first question. Given that the main concept that we are discussing today It's why Black women need culturally tailored, culturally responsive mentorship, ASAP. We are all in a mentoring relationship right now. Either myself, for example, although I'm a founder, director of a lab, but I'm also a mentee, right? And I'm being mentored, and I'm also mentoring women and men at the same time. So I believe we all have our own vision of what's of mentoring program, mentorship program. So maybe I'm gonna start with my own experience. So what makes my experience with mentorship unique? It's because I was born and raised in Haiti, right? And in Haiti, basically, there's no such thing as a formal, structured research, mentored research program. There is no such thing. Actually, the word mentor, the word mentorship, growing up in Haiti, I don't think I have heard about that twice in my entire life. So a formal mentorship program, it's really once I settled down in the US that I really learn about it. And of course, then I'm gonna be honest, it hasn't been easy for me because I wasn't raised in that culture where at school they will teach you about, okay, it's not just about the diploma. You don't need just a diploma to get ahead in life, or but you also need a role model. You need someone either in your family. You need support. You need guidance. You need networking, right? To be able to apply whatever you're learning from school and to really have an impact with the work that you want to do. So I didn't have that. I all the time I'm like, that's why I want to mentor young women, Black women, women of color, men of color so bad, particularly in the Haitian community, because to me, I feel like this is what most lacking right now for our youth, the fact that they are left alone. They don't know whether to go left, to go south. The only thing they know growing up, I send you to school, l'école, la caille, l'église, and that's it. But for example, I have a PhD in psychology, but that's all I know. I'm the first person in my family with a PhD. So I have no one in my family to show me the way. Everything I'm creating on my own. So that's what mentorship to me, it's really something I'm discovering in America, right? It's super useful, but at the same time, I'm also discovering that the culture, the impact of the culture on this experience, and I wish that I don't know, there was a way for me. I'm still learning the process of marrying, culture, leveraging culture, and get the most out of the mentorship experience that I'm doing in America. So for you, I'd like you to chime in. What does mentorship mean to you? Anyone can jump in.
Okay, Judith, so I'll jump in. So I wanted to bounce off of what you mentioned in terms of just not knowing about mentorship. So as I mentioned in my intro, I came to academia. I mean, I had been involved in medical research, but in terms of as a career, as an academic, that's something that came to me. I was well into my 40s when I decided to get my doctorate. And I did not know about mentorship until I was hired as faculty. And then it was kind of like, okay, so now you have to start to get grants because you're a research faculty. And I thought, oh, okay, I have an idea about getting grants, but it was just kind of like hit or miss. And by, a little bit through osmosis, I started to learn that, yes, you need a mentor. And I was in a way fortunate because my first mentor, although she was not a racial ethnic minoritized woman, but she was married to a person of color and had biracial children. And so she had an idea, from her own experience, and could share, some of that with me, because she was raising bicultural, biracial children. And so, yeah, it was something that I just I kind of learned along the way. And then I began to realize that, things are not as fair as what you think in academia, in terms of, getting grants, getting opportunities, the importance of networking. It felt to me almost like brown nosing people, when, you have to be introduced to someone in order to get ahead. It was a very foreign idea to me, and I kind of resisted it in the beginning. But I just kind of like started and see how far I got. And then slowly I began to realize, like, no, this is very, very important. And at that time, there were very few role models who, looked like me, who were, somewhat similar to me, that I could actually choose. That one mentor that I had ended up leaving my institution. Then I have another wonderful mentor. And yeah, and I find that as I am a mentor for mentees, predominantly racial, ethnic, minoritized women, young women, and a couple of young men, and I'm seeing that with them as well, they have not been really introduced to this idea. And so I do my best to try to bring people along and go that extra mile, because I'm realizing that they need a lot more help, just because they haven't been exposed to this culture of mentorship.
Yeah, this is although yes, you have been in the you were born in the US, but it seems to me like your experience with mentorship, it's not that far from mine, because in the beginning I resisted it, although I knew I needed it. And I'm so grateful, because entering a mentored research program after I settled down in the US has been my entry point to academia, right? And I'm so grateful. But at the same time, it hasn't been easy, because of I am not coming from a culture where this is something that's valued. So this is very similar to my experience. Anyone else wants to chime in about what mentorship mean to you?
I'll go
I'd
ahead.
like to go ahead. You go ahead.
Go ahead, Dr. Sandberg. Go ahead. Oh, okay. I'll go then. Okay, so I would like to chime in based on everything Dr. Blanc said. As a first generation Afro-Caribbean woman who didn't immediately start her American journey, and being an immigrant, like as a teenager, was definitely a different aspect, in terms of there were different obstacles that I had to face in comparison to, maybe a Black woman who was in America and understand the culture. So I had to get accustomed to being in the culture, in American culture. Like, Dr. Blunt said, the only thing is, school, work, and, home, like, and l'église, church. But apart from that, we kind of had to get accustomed to being the American dream, to being like, oh, this is how I'm supposed to act, this is how I'm supposed to talk. Having an accent was different, right? Having different ways of doing things and fitting in was different. But mentorship to me means having someone who has conquered, similar struggles that I'm currently facing. And I think also it means that I have someone that's entirely relatable to what I'm going through. And having a supportive understanding and a patient mentor, like, takes a lot of work, but it's very critical for a Black woman, especially an immigrant Black woman. And to me, also having an expert, like Dr. Blanc, who overcame all the obstacles within within medicine or within academia in medicine is important in my path, and really trivial to my success, because you get tips such as how to network, how what things you can do to elevate your career, and how to deal with very, very specific obstacles that others cannot tell you. So to me, that's the importance of mentorship.
Amazing. You touched one of the, I think we can end the session now because you already touched the entire topic that we really want to address, which is, okay, mentorship. Yes, it's super important, but who, who should you look up to? Given your, our unique situation, unique intersectional identity that we are that we are we are bringing into academia, how can we find this unique mentor who can understand that, okay, it's not just about learning, it's not just about networking, but it's also about providing emotional support, and then understanding right away that probably there is, some minority stress that my learner, my mentee is facing. So I have to go slowly on him. So that's this is, you touch everything. Candice, you wanted to chime in. Dr. Sternberg, you wanted to speak. Candice?
I just wanted to add to that. I just wanted to add the importance of mentorship teams, because I think that there's sort of been a discussion of just having one person as a mentor, but having a group of people who can really support their growth.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. It's not just about having one mentor, but you also, to me, mentorship, aside from the training, the support, the networking, the skills that you're building, and that relationship with your mentor, it's also about social support. And research show that, if you have one, it's already a lot. But we need a village, we need a tribe. So yes, that's part of it also, the number of mentor. And you need basically a mentor for each career path, for each domain in your life. I wish I knew all that also when I was growing up in Haiti. Okay, now let's talk about intersectional stress. Let's talk about specific situations, specific stress that not only like the ordinary learner is facing in academia, but also as a minoritized student, minoritized academic, minoritized expert, minoritized MD. So can you talk a little bit about your experience with imposter syndrome? What does it mean to you? Have you ever experienced that, for example?
I'll start. So when I when I was writing my doctorate and I was conducting my study and then I completed it, you go through the exercise of this, in my case, it was like a 200 plus page document. And at the end of that, and you defend, you feel like you're on top of the world. And you have this, very elated experience of, I'm done, I'm finished, the last 4 years or however long it took, I'm finally at the end. And then you have all this knowledge that you've gained, and you feel like you can conquer anything, you could do anything. There's no job in the US, in my case, I wasn't looking outside of the US. There's no job that I couldn't take on, And then little by little, things happen along the way. And then you start to feel like you're not sure if you know enough. You're not sure if you deserve a seat at that table. And, one thing that was fortunate for me is that as I was trying to figure it out, I kept trying to figure it out. And so I would attend different, lectures and just read about mentorship, and any workshop that was offered, I joined. And then I began to learn about this concept of imposter syndrome. And then I could kind of relax a bit and realize, like, okay, it's not just me. This is a worldwide phenomenon, and can sometimes impact people of minoritized statuses even more. And so then it took a while to kind of begin to kind of like climb out of that trench that I had dug for myself, and to just be comfortable in terms of where you are and what you've accomplished, and to be proud of that, and not compare yourself to others, and to just be proud in your own accomplishment.
Anyone else wants to chime in?
I'll chime in, or Laura, go ahead.
So I would say my experience with imposter syndrome was more so in my undergraduate career. And, when you're at a university, you're surrounded by so many people who are kind of like-minded, maybe sometimes on a different trajectory, but in the field of medicine specifically, sometimes it can be more cutthroat or more challenging than some other fields. So I just remember in my time as president of like these two organizations, there was a class, like a seminar that was being taught by the vice president of student affairs at my school. And luckily I was, one of the 10 people who had a spot in this class. And, I'm president of Planet Creole, minority women in medicine, very like not representing the biggest amount of people. And I, like other people in the class were like the president of the homecoming association, the president of like the sports clubs, like, very different things. And I sometimes remember like listening to all the things that they're doing, all the people that they're engaging, and feeling so inferior, like, and thinking like, the 10 people that's coming to my meetings, like, am I really having like an impactful or an impact on them, and, kind of what they want to do long term. So yeah, I just remember like week after week, the whole purpose of the class was to reflect on what we were doing in our time on campus. And like week after week, I'm hearing all these other things that these people are doing, like, getting to get all these people to come together to go to a football game, and like really struggling to realize what was the importance of what I was doing. And in the middle of all that, I remember also my senior year trying to figure out like when was my time going to come for me to apply to medical school and to take the MCAT. So just like senior year, like so many things were being hit at me at once, where I was like, at one point I was like, I don't know if I can do this for real. Like, I don't know if, I'm preaching to my students and all the people in my organization that like, if you stay on this path, you have all these tools and all these resources that we're offering. And in a sense, I'm saying it to other people, and I'm not even believing it myself that I can do it myself. And it was kind of that after a while becoming desensitized to the things that I was saying to my members and not internalizing it myself. It just got to a point where I was like, wait, like you can do it. It may take some time, like there's students who go straight into medical school after they graduate. There's some people who take gap years, who take 5-10 years to go to medical school, but it's not about the time. It's not about even comparing yourself to what other people's trajectories are. It's about what you're comfortable with and what you're able to realize on your own. So something I'm slowly, but surely learning now that I've, graduated, and I've been taking my time, putting in the meticulous work to like take the MCAT and to apply to medical school, and realizing that this is my journey, like, and my journey is not the same as everybody else.
Thank you so much, Laura. As you can see, I didn't put any definition on the concept, and I didn't share my own experience. But as you're speaking, I had a follow-up question, because there's a reason why we included this, this concept into the list of of discussion topic for today. So I am wondering what's the role of the mentor, and helping you, exploring with you, your experience with imposter syndrome, and how can you rely on your mentor to overcome the feeling? Because it seems like research show that we at some point, particularly in academia, in those high achieving field, we are constantly being evaluated. We are constantly we are in constant competition. So they feed it. Academia feed this feeling of imposter syndrome. So and it seems like it's very common among women, although men tend to experience imposter syndrome as well. But because of socialization, they hide it very well. And because also it's a men's world, they are making the rules. So of course it's a bit, I feel like it probably it seems a bit easier for them to take control, to take over the environment, because it's a men environment. But that's where I feel the mentor's role is it's essential. Although the research, we have people doing research on how to overcome this feeling, but that's my personal point of view. It's also the mentor's role to support you and your journey. And if you're having feeling of self-doubt, to help you understand where this feeling is coming from, normalize it, and also offering you tool, being a mirror for you in order to take control of the environment, and then put emphasis more on preparation, and also on creating an entire program of wellness, or how to overcome imposter syndrome. That's my opinion. I don't know, what do you think about that the role of the mentor, particularly for us as minoritized women, minoritized mentors and mentee? What do you think about that, the role of the mentor or mentorship, the impact or the influence of the mentor can have on how you may be able to overcome the imposter syndrome feeling? No thought on that?
I mean, I can quickly chime in. I know
Okay.
but I can say that really your mentor, and especially Dr. Blunt, like Dr. Blunt is in clinical psychology by trade, and I'm on my path to medicine. And although we have very kind of distinct things and career trajectories, the way that we connected the most was through like very non-sciencey, non-clinical ways. And that alone fueled me and like gave me so much energy to feel more empowered, and the things that I'm passionate about, seeing that she was able to pave a way for her own self, especially given all of the stressors that she went through. So having that kind of in a sense like a role model as well, like yes, it's a mentor, but also a role model, somebody that you see is doing their thing, able to kind of pave their own way and their own path, is more than strong enough for me to feel fueled and to see what I can do to also make a way for myself and for my future generation of mentees as well. So I'd say like just being able to see it and envision it firsthand, and have that experience like really firsthand, like is very powerful, and it does a lot for me as a mentee.
Yeah, absolutely. That's basically that this, thinking about my mentor's experience, and also having a mentor who can understand, the whole the intersection of all my identities, or is influencing my ability to learn, or to be successful, or to complete a task on a timely fashion, it's, to me, I don't think, to me, it's priceless, absolutely priceless. Full and disclosure, I also, struggle with imposter syndrome. And that's what I use. I leverage my my mentorship network to navigate that. And I also use I use psychology. Anyone wants to chime in?
Yeah, I wanted to say something that probably, like, because you brought up the word of what it is like that a mentor kind of needs to do. And what I think, I may have not like directly told Dr. Blunt or anybody is Dr. Blunt has actually, given me like the confidence, because with my accent, you probably can't hear it as much, is because I have actively and have pushed myself to really not have and not sound foreign since I've come to this country. Because, hey, you sound foreign and you sound like you from, such and such, and I used to get teased, right? But Dr. Blunt, her confidence in being, I've like watched videos of her just talking, and I always dreaded public speaking. Like, this was, dreadful for me today. However, I'm here, and it has been because of Dr. Blunt, and she speaks, with confidence, with an accent, and she's within herself, knows that this is what she sounds like, and she's happy with what she sounds like, and she sounds wonderful, right? But to other people, and who actually express that aloud, like, hey, you sound foreign, I don't get what you're saying, and they have directly said that to me, has been part of the roots of my imposter syndrome, where I was like, I don't even want to speak today. Like, I don't want to talk to people. I feel inferior in this room full of people. And, I've had people say, hey, I'm working on my fourth educational degree, but I still feel like I don't have enough. I haven't shown people that I'm doing enough. I don't feel good enough. I don't feel like I'm doing enough. But Dr. Blunt and her confidence in how she comes in a room and she speaks her mind with her accent, with authority, is important to have as a mentor, because many of us Black women feel like we don't want to open our mouth and speak because, hey, we sound a certain way. We don't want to talk. We have to code switch. That's another thing. Code switch. We have to press on how we sound and how we act, or, because we feel so inferior. So I just feel like having a mentor like Dr. Blunt, who is within themselves confident and is able to pave the way for the rest of us, is really important.
Wow, that was so powerful. And really, I wasn't expecting that because it's not always the kind of feedback that I receive, actually, because the same way see us Black women in academia, we have to impose. It's always a fight every day. This confidence that that inspired you. Sometimes also there's also the reverse effect. So that's it. We have to be also mindful of the fact that as a Black woman, when you sound too confident, you become also a threat, right? Oh, you sound too confident, you sound condescending, right? So it's such a, hence the reason why you need, that Black woman mentor, because I feel like there are situations that I'm navigating only a Black woman in academia can understand. So that's exactly, I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's exactly what I'm looking for also. My biggest dream is also to be able to work with a woman, a Black woman, an expert in stress. So where sometimes I'm having my self-doubt, like the imposter syndrome, so I can turn to that person and say, what did you do? How did you overcome this and that? What should I do? Yes, that's my dream. So I'm glad that you were able to find, to get inspiration from something that I don't even think I do on purpose. So thank you. Anyone else about imposter syndrome and
Well,
the yes,
yeah,
Lindsay.
thank you for bringing up, because it's something I hadn't really thought about in the past, but the idea of how, as a mentor, to be aware of that and what you can do to kind of, mitigate that experience that the mentee may be having. And, it begins with empathy. It begins with knowing people, really getting to know people. And so that's something that I try to do, as a mentor, is to really, as you were, Laura explained, you said, some of the best probably mentorship experiences that you've had have been outside of the business of academia, the moments that you had with Judith, where you were just kind of, talking about life or whatever. And I think that's that sometimes mentors forget about that, yes, it is about the business of the science, but then it's also about just understanding people. And so that, when you see that look in their eye, whether it's, something positive or something not so positive, or, that smile doesn't look like it's a genuine smile, it looks like something's hidden behind that smile. And it's only as you get to know people. And so you can kind of dig a little deeper, or you can, call the person after the meeting or send them a text and, that kind of thing. But, as if we remain just kind of like in this impersonal state of the mentor-mentee relationship, and you don't get to know each other, then it makes it a lot harder to be able to do things like recognize, and it may not hit you in the face, right? It may not be so apparent, the imposter syndrome or whatever the experience is, but it's something that may be happening at a very subtle level, and to recognize it and to help to address it and mitigate it.
I'm seeing some, because I want to give the attendees the chance to chime in from time to time. Tamara Termitus said, in studying the different career path of whites and minorities, HBS Professor David Thomas finds one characteristic of people of color who advance the furthest. It's a strong network of mentors and corporate sponsors. And she also added, to confident egal Black angry woman. And she added, intersectionality for Black women mean misogynoir. So thank you, Tamara, for adding to the discussion, because we were, I was surprised that nobody mentioned their experience with the label angry Black woman, because when you sound, as a Black woman, when you sound too confident, all of a sudden you become, not only they see you as being condescending or aggressive, but there is, particularly if you're, you're vocal about Black women's situation, the need for culturally sensitive program intervention. So the risk of being labeled angry Black woman is always around, right? So it was, although it wasn't part of the list of for the discussion, but feel free to chime in if it's also your experience, the angry Black woman label, and also misogynoir. Okay, so let's continue with the discussion. The next topic I would like to put on the table is the experience with minority tax. So the minority tax, it's a bit, sometimes people may confuse it with minority stress, but it's not, it's really not the same thing. To me, minority tax is the fact that, for example, I don't know if you're on social media, and Black women are always complaining about the fact that they are burdened with diversity, diversity and equity task. Why? Okay, because since we complain a lot about the fact that we suffer the most, but it seems to us that more and more when it comes to executing diversity project, it always it will fall on a Black woman shoulder, right? Because you're, you know, because you're a woman, because you're Black, because you're immigrant, because you're, you know, because of all the intersection of your identities, you always have the impression that you have to represent and you have to shoulder, you have to, if there's something that's not going, that's not right, and the environment, it's your job to fix it and fix it for free. So that's basically what my definition, my perspective of minority tax. So what's your experience with that? Do you feel, have you ever felt that, okay, as a woman, a Black woman, you were expected, or you felt, because that's why it's tricky. Personally, I know I love everything community oriented. I love being in the field. I love that. And when I'm doing it, I forget about myself, right? I would love to spend my entire day just having a patient contact. And when it comes to go to the community, I don't mind going on Saturday. I don't mind going on Sunday, because I see it as an outdoor activity. So that's my experience. But sometimes, so far, I've seen, you know, a different reaction among in my environment. Although I enjoy that, going in the community for my work on Saturday, on Sunday, but not everybody enjoy that. And sometimes I feel even a bit guilty, because I'm like, okay, it's not because you enjoy it that you think everybody enjoy leaving their house to be in the community. So sometimes I'm like questioning myself. Is it natural for me to not to ask, to I don't know, not to ask, maybe to be paid when it comes to do community work? So yeah. I don't know what's your experience. How do you feel about the minority tax experience? Is it your own experience, or you okay when you're asked to do community oriented work without getting a specific compensation? Because that's what it is. It's one thing to make yourself available, to being committed to advance your community. It's one thing. But a second thing, sometimes I feel like when you are so available, so generous to advance the community, all the community work will fall on your shoulder. That's my perception. Oh, yeah, Luntita.
Sure, yeah. So I guess I was somewhat fortunate in terms of when I was first finishing my doctorate. My cousin, who we're about the same age, but as I said, because I came to this as a second career, so she had already been in academia for guess, 30 something years or whatever. And one of the first things she said to me, she said, you know, I've seen so many Black women who they get so caught up in, you know, on infinite committees related to diversity and things like that. And it compromises their own career. And she's like, you know, just be aware of that. And so those words are always kind of, you know, ringing in my ears. We don't always have complete control over it, right? But it's a fine line, because on the other hand, if you say no to everything, in a sense, it may compromise who you are as a person, which is a giving person, a loving person, a caring person. But at the same time, you know, again, it's like that fine line between, is this something that is of equal, you know, unfortunately, it kind of boils down to it sometimes, right? Of equal benefit for me and for the community, whether the community is one person or the community is, you know, the community at large. Or is this something that is really going to just completely, you know, drain me and drain me of my resources, which then impacts my work going further. So yeah, being aware of it and learning how to kind of navigate that balance between what is helpful for us, what is helpful for others, and to ensure that whatever it is, that we are satisfied with where we are. We each will have a different level of commitment, which is going to, at the end of the day, we're gonna, you know, sleep well at night. And then on the other extreme is, or the other end of the spectrum is where it's really just taking from us and not really, we're not really benefiting from that experience.
And so I would just want to add to that, that I think that to a certain extent, there's a systems issue there when it comes to having to give with respect to giving back to the community, because at least in academic systems, a lot of time that kind of work isn't necessarily appreciated or awarded. So even though you might put in, you know, let's say 20 hours every week towards those types of activities, you're not going to get a promotion for doing it. You're not going to get any accolades for doing it. And so that's why it turns into a task. And maybe one of the solutions is actually making those tasks rewardable so that they're not a tax.
Yeah, I'm still struggling with, I don't really struggling, Candice, because I feel like Black women, we love to do that. It's always an honor for when we are asked to represent, to give to the community, because, you know, women, we are expected to be the caregiver, right? So when it comes to going into the community and doing volunteering job, it's always on us to do it. And but at the same time, it's also devalued, because I don't feel like you can get promoted just because of doing that, right? So it's something I'm struggling. Yeah, I'm struggling with that with the minority tax, on how to, you know, how to enjoy giving my all to the community, and without also staying too available to, or being burdened by everything community work or field work or community outreach. So that's my struggle right now. Also, next discussion topic, we have the Black excellence topic, which is, you know, it's a hot topic. And so to me, Black excellence, so as you can see, I feel like they are all, those topics, they are all connected. and they are in being connected. They I feel like they represent a cumulative chronic stress for us as women, as Black. Black excellence also, it's something that I have a difficult relationship with this concept. I'm sorry about that. Why? Because I do understand that. Okay, maybe before I chime in, so what does that mean to you? How do you yeah, what does Black excellence mean to you as women, as mentee, as student? I don't want to contaminate you yet. What's your experience with Black excellence? Do you feel like you have an obligation to be excellent as a Black and as a woman? Do you feel that obligation?
You know, it's taking a long time for us to answer because it's hard to put into words. I feel like because Black excellence is kind of like also like you feel burdened that you absolutely have to show Black excellence. I just feel like Black excellence is Black excellence, but then it's like it's just Black excellence. Like I'm saying this because I don't even know how to put it into words. It's just like if it kind of feels like a burden sometimes because you go one place but you feel like you have to do more. Like I I have
Yeah,
two
I
bachelor's
understand you.
degree. I have
Yeah.
two bachelor's degree. I'm doing a second master's degree, and I feel like I have to do two doctorate. Like it's like you don't. There's no end to Black excellence, and Black excellence is great, but sometimes some of us don't feel like we are doing enough because we have to keep beating the horse. Like, hey, beating the Black excellence word is how we're gonna get there, and it can be a real, like it can lead to burnout. It can lead to serious anxiety, feeling like, hey, but I have to do this. I have to show Black excellence. I have to keep pushing. Like my people need this, right?
Yes, yes.
And that's exactly how I feel every single day. Like I wake up and I got to make sure I get things done because Black excellence, like you have to show Black excellence, and no matter what you do, your job, you have to, once you get out that house, you have to make sure Black excellence is represented, and you can't you you can't diminish that at all in anything you do, in especially in academia, especially in medicine, especially in several aspects outside of medicine, right? And I just feel like it takes a lot to really fulfill that, because I just feel like Black excellence, there's no end to it. That's just my 5 cents. So
Thank you, Maritza. I can trust me. I feel you. I hear you. With someone with three master's degree, I can imagine. I can imagine. The impact of Black excellence on your career path. You're just so courageous, and you inspire me. Trust me. You inspire me in that sense. Anyone wants to weigh in about Black excellence? Because everything is neutral. Everything can be a good and a bad thing. The same way, for example, the strong Black women schema, you know, it can be therapeutic for Black women in America. That's the same way. It's also it has a toll on our overall health. So that's my perception of that's my relationship with Black excellence in this moment. I mean, growing up in Haiti, there was no such thing because, growing up in a predominantly black country, we are all black. So there's no such thing as racialized. I mean, there is colorism, texturism, but the racialization, it's not you don't have the same experience with racialization growing up in Haiti. So the concept of Black excellence, really, it's something I discovered in the United States. And so I really think it means a lot for us, actually, as learner, as student, as academician, expert, behavioral scientist, whoever is in academia. I believe this could be a fuel for you to get ahead. I absolutely understand why some of us, we believe and we are using it to go ahead, to get ahead, because the media, of the way we are portrayed in the media, it's always, with negative images, be Black people being portrayed as animals, right? And so at some point, I believe it was necessary, right? It was useful as a coping mechanism to, okay, so I'm gonna replace the bad images, the negative images, by positive thing only. But at the same time, I feel like by trying to absolutely reverse those negative images of us in the media or anywhere you go that is racialized, now you all, whatever thing you're doing, you have that requirement because you're Black, you have to represent and you have to be excellent. And I feel like there's no end to it. And the struggle I'm having with this concept also, it's the fact that, but because of the capitalist system, because there's always something to benefit from those injunction. If it was just, okay, excellence, being also kind to people in your network, if it was also about social skills, if it was about diversity, equity, interdependence, celebrating everything, every single effort, to me, I would be really fine and happy. But it's the way also the capitalist mindset behind it, numbers, metric. When people are celebrating Black History Month, the huge emphasis only on those that receive accolades. It's all about metric. That's where I'm struggling. That's where I'm struggling. I love the indigenous epistemology. I believe in interdependence. I believe in equity. I believe in differences. I believe in celebrating differences. So that's the struggle. That's my struggle with Black excellence. It's because when we are celebrating, we only celebrate those that were that receive accolade from white, from from the system. So I don't know if anyone want to weigh in before we jump into other topic for today. The next discussion.
I would like to weigh in, Dr. Blunt.
Yes.
I'm able to. But I just wanted to talk about, emphasizing the fact that there's no end sometimes to Black excellence. And it's about your perspective on it. Because I remember even in my last year, I'm in a sorority, I'm in all these organizations, I'm, taking my classes, making sure everything's done, the example of what a Black excellent woman is. But it just got to the point where I just felt so consumed by all the things I was doing that I when applying and figuring out the next phase of your life, you get so consumed and stuck on one part that it's hard for you to navigate into the next one. So as I'm like, you know, doing all these organizations, and I'm realizing, okay, medical school, that's right around the corner. That's supposed to be after, you know, university, but how am I supposed to get myself in there? And I remember scheduling my MCAT to like, I was supposed to take it kind of the month after I graduated. And I'm just my last semester, I'm doing all these things, having to attend all these meetings, having to join all these different things. And I'm realizing that my strive for Black excellence was kind of hindering me in a different part of who I wanted to be as a Black woman. So kind of, you know, learning to balance yourself and balance the things that you're partaking in was something I had to harshly learn, and like tell myself, okay, you know, I'm going to unfortunately have to wait until I graduate so I can like kind of be done with those commitments that I had as an undergraduate, and really take my time into preparing myself for the next phase of life. So that's what I did. Like, I remember like on a weekly basis, I'm attending like 10 different meetings and having to do classes to during the summer. I'm not doing anything all day, like purposely, because I was just so, in a sense, tired of having to continue fulfilling this role as like a Black excellence person. And, you know, whereas on one side it's great, on another side it's weighing me down with the other things that I wanted to, you know, continue on in the future. So yeah, and even now I struggle with it, like trying to uphold the image of Black excellence, because, you know, going from that position, and now like I'm just now starting to work. As soon as I immediately graduated, I wasn't doing anything. I was in Dr. Blunt's lab, you know, thankfully working there. But, you know, like I had transitioned from a lot of these high esteemed roles into, you know, just kind of sitting down and not doing anything, and feeling that pressure that I don't even think was being placed upon by anybody else but myself. And that's a part of the Black excellence too, that you're putting all of these standards and, you know, things that sometimes aren't even being burdened by other people, but you're burdening yourself with it. So, you know, kind of taking that time to separate yourself and to realize that you want to just be great, and there's different ways to go about it, and, you know, not to weigh yourself down by this whole Black excellence image.
Yeah.
And
Thank you so
which is where
much.
a mentor comes in, you know, can be very helpful, right? Is to kind of recognize that and to, you know, sit down with the mentee. I've had to do that a couple times and do it with myself, and to say like, wait a second, you know, look at your calendar. Look at all the things that you're committing yourself to. How are you going to get from step A to B and B to C if you're being, you know, weighed down with all of these club commitments and volunteer commitments?
Yeah, absolutely. So I really would like to give our attendees the chance to ask us. I received questions in the chat already. So we'll take 5 minutes to maybe to discuss about how to move forward, and then allow the attendees about 10 minutes to ask us questions. So now moving forward, right? Now that we have discussed the importance of having a team of mentors, to have also representation in academia, to be able to have access to people, to mentors who look like us, who may be able to understand, who will be open to listen and help us explore problematic and identities, how the intersection of those identities may be impacting our learning process, right? And our possibility to become impactful in our work. We have discussed all that. Now, can you provide some tips? And also, do you have any suggestion on what would a transformative, healthy, equitable higher education system or academic medicine system look like in your eyes? Because I'm sure that we have, you know, several young Black, I'm really sure that we have all kind of expert and also trainee student listening to us. So what is your recommendation for them?
So I think one thing that we have to acknowledge is that, unfortunately, until the pipeline from both ends, the pipeline of available mentors kind of catches up with those who the Black women who need the culturally responsive mentorship. It's going to take a while for us to catch up to that. And so, I think on a practical level, we have to be open to a mentorship committee or mentorship team that is a mix of genders, race, abilities, fields of expertise, and to really see how you can capitalize on each one of those mentors, even though they may not, all be, let's say, super, excellent, Black women who you aspire to. And so I think that number one, that's the reality, and we have to be open to that, because we're not all going to be able to assemble that team that that A team would like to have. So I'll just end then with that one suggestion or advice.
Thank you, Luntita. Thank you.
I completely
Anyone?
agree
Yeah.
with that. And another point that I would make to extend the argument would be considering yourself almost the CEO or as the CEO of your career. And so as you have this mentoring team, also promoting some people as mentors and firing people as mentors as you decide what you want to do through your career goals.
Whoa, wow. Oh my God, that was really strong. I definitely need Candice as a business coach to teach me how to do those things. I would never think that way. And I wonder if it's that possible. Is that possible? And Candice, specifically if you don't have, I don't know, we'll talk offline. Okay, anyone else want to provide recommendation or just share your perspective of a healthy, transformative, equitable higher education system?
I'd say for me, having an open mind can take you a very long way. I kind of reiterating what I said before, but Dr. Blunt's of a different kind of like career path that I want to do, but having that thing that attracted me and, of her and her passion and the things that she's like very interested in having that open mind was what opened doors for so many different things down the line. Because I could have immediately said, oh, Dr. Blunt's a PhD, I want to be an MD, and immediately cut off what ended up being a really good and powerful thing for me. So having that open mind and, the power of discernment, as well as Dr. Sternberg said, can take you a very long way, especially in the field that we're in.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I agree with you. I guess when I was, before discovering about the importance of mentorship, I think I would never think that I could learn from someone who doesn't have a PhD. You're right on that. It's really not just about being mentored by this single person with the same career path that you want to pursue, but it's really keeping your mind open, because yes, I don't have an MD. I'm not an MD, but I'm in academia. I'm doing academic medicine, and the experience I offered you will help, is surely helping you building your CV to get accepted into medical school. So this is also super important for, the the young Black student trainees to understand the diversity that you need in your mentorship. Anyone else want to provide the recommendation? Okay, so I'm gonna read the question for you, but I don't have questions so far. Mostly it's the attendees are sharing their thought as we were speaking. So Tamara, again, Tamara said emotional tax. So we talk about minority tax, but she also chime in and talk about emotional tax, how Black women and men pay more at work and how leaders can take action, report. And she mentioned, what about systemic aspect? There is a link with imposter syndrome and Black excellence. Yeah. So what I can say, Tamara, it's what we really want. We don't want this session to end today, as we were rehearsing last 2 days ago. And when we discovered, oh my God, this should be a series, right, of talk, because we have so many things to address, so many, we have, our stories is so unique and can be also inspirational. So we will probably schedule a new session to continue to reflect on our unique situation in academia and academic medicine. So thank you so much for sharing your perspective on that. And Tamara also mentioned that I guess that we have to look at the systemic aspect of those questions. I also received anonymous feedback. Anonymous attendee said, with the minority tax, maybe Black women can get better at making it a specific time commitment. For example, I will do this for X amount of time so that that it doesn't become a second job. And anonymous attendee mentioned Black excellence equal mental slavery, burnout. You can't just be average on some days. You have to be excellent and compensate for an entire race. Yes, absolutely. That's how I feel about this injunction. Yeah, that's all I had in terms of question and comment. It's 5:30. It's 5:29. So I didn't want this to be more than 90 minutes. So do we have any more question, any concern, any comment to share before we wrap up? Any final message, any wish for the next step? Because yes, go
One
ahead.
thing I would like to add is to, have that vision. First, to identify what the vision is, right? To kind of like pinpoint that vision, and then to keep that vision before you, whatever that vision is, and to not be afraid to ask. Some of the, big gains that I have earned in my academic career have come from being kind of bold and asking for something. And initially I was kind of afraid to ask. And yeah, ask your mentors, ask people who are not your mentors, just talk to people and just ask, because sometimes you'll be surprised at what comes back just from, simply asking a question. And you don't have to have expectations, because it may or may not, result in what you're looking for. But at least if you don't begin by asking, then there's no possibility of it actually being realized.
Thank you, Luntita. I think I have a new comment. How do you find mentors when there are so few people of color in positions of authority, especially sponsors? Do you want?
I just want to say for that one that I think that really goes back to Lantita's point that given that there are so few mentors in those positions, that you have to be open to people who are from other backgrounds.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I think I forgot to mention that when we say that when we talk about culturally responsive mentorship, that doesn't mean that you have to work only with people who look like you. For example, Black women work with Black women mentor. That's not what we mean. You need one. You may need one. That's my dream to be able to be mentored by a Black woman. But at the same time, I have to acknowledge that in my life so far, I have been mentored, supported by only either white men or Black men. I always wanted to be able to get support from a Black women. When I was in Haiti and even here, it's not easy to find because you're white. We are not a lot. So that means you have to be able to take advantage of who is available. White women help me very well in academia, and sometimes I do feel like they understand. There isn't an understanding because of the gender. They may not have the same racial or ethnic background as myself. However, the gender perspective has helped me a lot. I do feel it makes a huge difference in my relationship with them, right? So that means, Luntita said it, keep an open mind. Anyone can help you, but at the same time, make sure you need to make sure that you also find someone who can understand the intersection, right, of your identity. But it won't be easy for you to find this prototype of mentor with all your identity. I don't think it's easy. It's that easy. You can always try to find it by attending conference, right? Black Women Conference, Black Women in Science. I know about STEM Noir. Basically, they are all Black women in STEM coming together to offer safe space in places to advance women, young women, doing STEM. So you can also build it. That's super important. It may not be available right away, but you can take advantage of what's available. And at the same time, don't hesitate to create your own community, because that's exactly what I did with the Holistic Families Lab. I wanted to feel surrounded by a team of Black women or Black scholars, or I wanted to be surrounded by young experts doing academic medicine, doing medical science or behavioral science, and people who are interested in advancing knowledge in marginalized communities. So as long as I have that, I did feel, okay, wow, now I have a tribe. So you can also create your own tribe and also mentor. I believe that's what I'm doing with everyone here, Candace, Luntita, Laura, Maritza, and I have other mentees in the room as well. We are creating our mentorship. We are inventing our mentorship perspective. We are mentoring each other. So very important to break code. That's what we are doing. We are breaking code. Okay. Yeah, I think that was the last comment. So I don't want to hold you for too long. We've been talking since 4:05. I think we can wrap up. It has been such a pleasure to start this series, to speak about why Black women need culturally responsive mentorship. It's a joy again to sit down with those ladies. Thank you so much for taking the time from your busy schedule to join me on a Saturday evening. Thank you, Ernesto from UM, who I'm really grateful to you, Ernesto, for being with us for 90 minutes, just listening to those women speaking about their mentorship experience. Thank you to my mentees in the room. I saw Womaya, I saw my friend, Dr. Carl Philippe Pierre-Paul. I saw Christine. I had my friend Jolette in the room, and anybody else, everybody who asked question, comment. Thank you so much for sharing, and we'll keep in touch. If you have questions, feel free to get in touch with me. I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, or send me email, send me suggestion, because the goal is to probably create a podcast. This is just the beginning, because we want this to become a movement, to offer support, and to invent, basically to create the model of mentorship that we want. That's it. We are creating the mentorship we want for Black women. Thank you again, guys. Thank you for coming. Have a great one. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Likewise. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care.